Bourbon Barkeep,
Yes, sir.
back again.
Let's go.
Just content on content.
Weekly at this point. Actually, it's always been weekly. So not really at this point. It's just...
We had a couple bonus. Do you put our names down? Do we have to introduce ourselves?
Curtis? Noah?
Do we do the names?
Well, yeah.
I feel like sometimes we do. Most
I
of the
put the
time,
name
right?
every time, yeah.
Do you?
Nice to know you watch, yeah.
There are like 2 fruit flies that are just down
You see
down
me
here
swat at this point, yeah.
looking to party.
Sure.
So hopefully they stay away from Old Ezra, which is our bottle tonight.
Good. That's a good segue.
All right. So Old Ezra,
Background,
our
yes.
bottle tonight.
Mm-hmm.
This is a 7-year-old bourbon.
Okay.
It is barrel strength. So this is going to be some just fresh out of the barrel juice. I'm
Okay.
excited for it.
Yeah.
Luxco is actually over Old Ezra. They have a bunch of stuff out there. They have a couple others out there, but it seems like Ezra Brooks and certainly Rebel is gaining steam. They had a 101 out, and apparently for this rebrand, which they did a beautiful job on the label of this bottle.
Sure.
They went from 101 to barrel strength. They put it in for 7 years at this point. But Luxco actually wound up buying a distillery. So they're going to be putting out their own juice very soon.
Cool.
Their idea right now is, hey, we're still going to put out the source stuff, which rumor has it, another Heaven Hill.
Ooh.
So supposedly in the next couple of years, Old Ezra will be their own Luxco, Lux Row juice.
Wow.
So I'm excited because on one hand, as you know, I like to deduct a little bit of points when you're just out here trying to make money. I get it's expensive. I get it. But ultimately,
When it's yours, it's more impressive.
you got to earn it. Yeah. So this isn't full allocated, but this has been tough to find. I feel like I've seen the rye a little bit more also. Beautiful branding. They went a little green on the rye. This one a little more charcoal, but
Sure.
I'm
You're not
I was
going to wait any
intrigued
longer,
enough.
huh?
Well, I'll hold it. I don't know what to do with my hands. I just keep
That's right.
motioning things like a weatherman. So anyways, it's got to be 2 minutes at
I
this
was
point.
going to know. We're at time, I
I
think.
try and keep the history / background to 2 minutes because ultimately people care what it smells and tastes like.
Very traditional.
I mean, it's everything that you would think
Yeah.
in a bourbon at this point.
Sure.
I'll go, I do get some sweetness, but I feel like the char is right off the bat.
Sure.
So I'll go charred oak. And
I get a little toffee almost. I don't know if you do,
I
but
could go toffee. I kind of get, this is going to sound dumb, I kind of get a candy corn.
it means October. Maybe that's just you being in the spirit.
Maybe, but there's a kind of a fake sugar candy, and I mean, it's bourbon. I mean, it's corn. Speaking of, mash bill,
Yeah, hey,
another
hit me with
segue.
it. Yeah.
Little 12% barley,
Okay.
10% rye. So this is going to be very low rye. You're
Yeah.
not going to get the
Peppery.
the spice, the tea, if you will.
Yeah.
And then obviously the rest. I'm not going to do math on the fly. Corn.
That'll be 78 for those back at home.
Good for you. Look at that
That'll be
public school
78.
system.
Yeah. 1210. Take that off 100.
KU, earn that money.
That's
Good for
right.
them.
Rock Chalk, you're getting an education.
All right. I don't think there's anything else.
I can pick out of here.
I mean, you got
I get toffee caramel.
brown sugar.
It's a very traditional bourbon. There's no,
Yeah.
like last week we did, please watch as well. Last week we did Peerless, and there was just
Yours
a
was off the wall.
extremely forward tobacco. So like it felt like
Yeah.
you had chewed on the end of a cigar before you took your sip. And there's nothing that unique in this Old Ezra 7. But I mean, it smells good. The nose is fine.
Yeah.
It's a little hot.
That gets me
That's a warm finish.
right in the back.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
a warm finish.
Yeah, you feel her all the way down. Good for you, Ezra.
Yeah, there's no note change really. It's the same caramel toffee.
I get a touch more spice. I will say it rapidly evaporates from the tip of the tongue, oddly enough, but the finish is there.
Warm for sure. Like you get that down here.
The finish doesn't, there's no complexity to it, to where it's like just warm liquid, but it's not like, ooh, I get anise. Like it's just
What's anise?
kind of like a licorice. I was
Wow.
just pulling one out.
Yeah.
But like it doesn't just develop or evolve. It's just warm liquid going into my belly, which is nice.
Yeah.
But there's not a ton of complexity there.
No, I'm completely on board.
I enjoy the flavor if you like the just wheelhouse bourbon of your brown sugar, some cinnamon. Barrel strength, it leaves a little more to be desired.
In terms of what? In terms of heat or in terms of uniqueness? That's where it kind of falls flat to me, is the uniqueness. Like there's nothing to really justify that. I mean, what's the MSRP? 70 on this at this point?
So it's been 3 to 5 years since really it's had a lot of traction, if you will.
Yep.
And in those times it was $40. And if you told me this was a $40 bottle,
much more
I would
impressed.
say
Much more
yes,
impressed.
please.
Yeah.
It is now, whether it's inflation, bourbon craze, and life, it is now up to about 80. You know, barrels, it checks a lot of boxes, especially at 40. It doesn't check a lot of boxes anymore at 75 or 80.
Right. There's, yeah. And instead of just bashing it without actually grading, let's get into the grading because we'll kind of go through this more. But like you said, I mean, there's bottles cheaper than this that I'd probably pick over this. But
All right. So grading wise, I'm going to sit back and relax a little bit because that
you did your piece.
Winded.
You did your piece.
And if I do say, you crushed last week's categories.
Okay. So as Curtis said, we have 4 categories. We start with senses, which is weighted at 50%. We weight our categories. Senses is by far the heaviest weight at 50%, and that is kind of an all-encompassing nose, palate. I'd take a little bit of mouthfeel into this. Sometimes I lump that in more with the third category, which we'll get into in a second.
Please.
But yeah, senses is kind of an all-encompassing, smell, taste. That's what you are basically looking at in a bourbon. So category 2, it factor. So this is talking about if there's any, like mystique, as we talked about earlier. Is there a really cool narrative in the early 1900s that brought this distillery about? What's cool about the story of this bottle? What's cool about the bottle itself? You can go 100 different ways with that if you want. Also depends on what mood you're in.
Sometimes you're just in a pissy
Did you have a good day? Did you have a good day? So we'll see. That's second category. Third category being hug, another word for finish. How does the bourbon wrap up? And then fourth, second most important in my humble opinion, and that is bang for the buck. So comparing, what you thought about the bourbon, its quality, its taste, whatever it may be, comparing that to the price, what's that stack up like? So, is it a $100 bottle? It better punch like one. That kind of thing.
So senses.
Yep.
I'll jump in since you're gassed.
I mean, goodness, I need a drink.
Yeah. It's here. All right. So it's very difficult to deduct for a traditional bourbon. I mean, if you buy bourbon, you want it to taste like bourbon.
Yeah. Not every bottle needs a crazy, off-the-wall, unique note.
Right. I'm just going to go with a 63.
Well, look at you, man. That's 2 weeks in a row branching off the multiples of 5.
The OCD in me is just really
I was going to say, you go
cringing,
60.5. Does that make you feel better? Right smack in the middle? So
No,
you're
God, no.
halfway.
God, no.
Even worse, huh?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of building off what you said, I'm in the same boat. You can't necessarily dock it because there's no crazy off-the-wall tobacco like we had last week, or the hay from Black Maple that definitely comes to mind too. I'll go 60. Like it's definitely an above average on the palate. Like I really, really enjoy it. It's strong. It's not necessarily quick in terms of mouthfeel. Like it coats and stays for a little while. So I'll go 60. It's a nice score, but I'm not going to act like I love it by any means.
Yeah. So it factor. I'm going to give. So I deduct a little bit for not their own juice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Heaven.
Have to.
If it's Heaven Hills juice, just slap Heaven Hill on there.
Sure.
It's like a feature. Great label. It is actually. It's a beautiful bottle. It's actually. Maybe I'm in a good mood.
Got the net.
Oh, there it is.
Yep.
So the branding, beautiful.
Yep.
The bottle pour, easy. Not their own juice though.
Down. Sure. There's 5 pros and 5 cons. I feel like with this.
I'm gonna go 60.
Okay.
I wanted to go 57. It's just too much.
I was gonna say now you're just making me pull out a calculator.
I'm gonna go 60 because it is hard to find. It does look good on a shelf, which does play a little bit of factor. They did a great job with the bottle. We've had different bottles to where the coloring is atrocious.
Yeah.
McKenna,
Hard to look at.
be better, McKenna.
The cream and green is weird for
Yeah.
sure.
But ultimately, not throwing juice, not a lot of buzz. I would like to see more buzz around the bottle because it is good. But they really price themselves out of getting buzz.
Yeah.
So 60, is that what I said?
Yeah, I think you did
Okay.
say 60. Yep. I'll record that just so you
Thank you.
don't forget.
Yeah.
Same boat as you. I think we can go 60 as well. Kind of for the same reasons as Senses. It's just good, not great. And that's kind of the motto of this bottle, if you will, is just good, not great.
Yeah.
The
Once
label's
they're-
cool.
Once Lux Row puts out their juice, I will buy it again and see. I'll be curious
I'm interested
how much it changes.
See the price tag on that too. That'd be interesting.
You want to go with your finish? Finish is a tough one.
Yeah, because there's no change, and I'm not necessarily looking for a crazy switch up when you're talking about how the last 5-10 seconds goes once you take that first swallow and you're kind of trying to decipher the rest of your experience there.
I don't need it to be a Willy Wonka candy that turns me into a blueberry.
Right.
But I need it to be something.
It was warm. I mean, I'll go 60 again. Am I getting boring? Maybe I'll go 61. We'll go 61.
I mean, give it a little credit over it. Okay.
I'll give a little nod.
This is a hug that you meet a fellow neighbor at a barbecue.
But let's go. Dive in, man.
Yeah. And then you've had a few beers. And you're like, man, Jason, that was super fun, man. We should do this again. And you give a little, and you leave, and you forget Jason's name, and you're like, I think I had a good time.
Right.
But ultimately, I'm memorable.
Wow. That was nice. All right. Bang for the buck. Last but not least. What are we settling on 75 MSRP?
For sure.
Okay.
I mean, at 2018, this was 40. It is not 2018.
Okay. Then I'm going to go, my score, I'm going to go with 40.
Whoa.
I'm going to knock it.
Wow.
Because
Bad day.
that, much different from last week with Peerless being $80, that tastes like an $80 bottle. To me, I'd be satisfied if that was 60.
Yeah, it's really disappointing that it's no longer even 50.
But yeah, you tack on an extra $15 and you make that a $75 bottle. I mean, you're, over 80 with tax, and that's not necessarily, I'm not loving the return on investment there.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be competitive. I mean, we were both athletes in high school, maybe in college.
You're an
The
athlete in
people will
college?
never know. The bang for the buck, I'm with you. I'm going to go 45. I mean, there's too many other bottles out there that
Even
are
if that was 65, I'm not picking that over a ton of,
McKenna.
yeah.
I mean, if that went head-to-head with McKenna, there's just no way it beats it.
Despite the green and cream label.
If you're going different bottle, fine, but bang for the buck, it needs to be deducted.
Sure. It does. Yeah, it's just too expensive for what you get. But that's why we have that category,
Yeah. All right, so math again?
Add them up. Let's math it. We'll be right back. All right. We're back. Got our scores. Tell us what you got here.
All right, so with the weighting in the algorithm, I'm at 57.9.
Okay.
So above average if we want to go glass half full, and your top 10. Glass half empty is we did about 12 bottles, I think. So
I'm of the same boat.
Lower.
I was actually lower. I was 54.7, I believe, is my final score.
Yeah.
So it's not we've tried, closing in on probably 15 different bottles on this channel.
Yeah.
And it's in the bottom third for sure. We've been blessed to try a bunch of really, really great bottles. So if that's something you want to add to the glass half full category, you can do so.
glass half empty it was out of our pocket.
But yeah, I mean, for $75, it's not necessarily living up to that price tag, unfortunately. It's still a really good bourbon. It's something that I would drink again if it were $40. But a little bit out of my price range for what you get.
All right, so some housekeeping things.
Yes.
So we had 2 subscribers get married.
Okay. Yes.
And there's some people that are like, hey, we watch. And I'm like, no, you don't. These guys do. Sabrina and Colin, congratulations
Congrats,
to you
guys.
all.
Yeah, really cool.
Excited for the journey that you all are on, but had a beautiful wedding out in Temecula. Had not been out there.
Wine country.
Yeah. Sabrina looked incredible in her dress. Colton looked even better in his tux. I mean, he had
Nice.
gold buttons.
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah. next, until we get to the bet, we have a really fun episode coming up.
That's right.
So we're trying to mix it up. We are going to stick with the tastings. I mean, that's our bread and butter. We have a scientific experiment coming up next week.
With years and years.
Of data.
2 years, I guess.
Data.
2 years of data. When I say years and years, does 2 count?
It's year and year data.
Years of data.
Yeah.
Multiple years. Anyway.
Speaking of learning, we're almost back to 500.
We are, yes. So had a lock of the week last week. Oklahoma minus 20 against Iowa State.
What was the final score?
50-20. So that brings us into this week, and I'm going to get my button. Be right back. All right, so I got the button. Settling back into the chair here.
Do a little.
Okay, nice.
I mean, so we can prove there's a button.
Sure, yeah.
Does the button
This
change sounds week to week?
No, we're going to stick with the ding, I think. I found a cool little sound
ding.
effect on my little program that I use. And
That's true. I mean, we're 1-0 with the ding.
that's right. I'm not going to change the ding. Not at this point.
That's a good point.
So that brings us Oklahoma minus 20 cash, 2-3. That brings us into this week. Sticking with college.
500. Let's go.
Yeah, we're sticking with college. I'm going first half bet this week.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. Oklahoma State, Kansas State. I'm going Kansas State minus 6.5 first half. You can find that minus 115 a few different places right now. This is recorded on Wednesday night, so by the time this hits Friday morning, I'm
Grace.
hoping it's still 6.5.
Grace.
Yes. But Oklahoma State, notoriously slow starting team. 2 weeks ago, they played South Alabama in Stillwater at home.
USA.
South Alabama, a G5
USA.
team, down 23-0 at halftime.
Not ideal.
No. They're 0-4 against the spread, first half lines this year. They're just a notoriously slow starting team. I know they've had a week off now at this point. They had a bye week last week. That doesn't scare me at all. Friday night, 6:30 game, prime time. As you know, that Friday night games, ESPN, ABC, whatever it may be.
Head to head with varsity high school.
Exactly. So,
Prime time.
Yeah, like both teams going to be ready to show up. Kansas State's not going to be sleepwalking. It's not an 11 a.m. game. So Kansas State's going to, I mean, the fact that this is under 7 to me is just pretty shocking. So Kansas State, first half, minus 6.5, book it in.
No, you can't book it until you hit the ding.
Okay.
Ding. I like how you have to make your own sound effect.
Sure, yeah. That's all right. But yeah, so hoping to get back to 500 here, and
Hey, the journey back.
let's roll.
Here we are.
3-3, no harm done. That's what we're going for.
To you all, thank you. Do the like, subscribe stuff.
Like, subscribe.
We've had a few new subscribers, so
Yeah.
I mean, y'all are trickling in.
Had a few trickle in this
So-
week. Feels good. It really does. So thank you guys for
does.
watching. Thank you especially if you hit subscribe for us.
Yeah. Hey.
See you guys. Thanks.